I go to Princeton University, majoring in psychology.
I go to Harvard, and I'm majoring in economics.
I'm going to Duke, and I'm majoring in psychology and global health.
I'm going to Johns Hopkins, and I'm majoring in chemistry.
Our advantage, great teachers and programs at Orange County Public Schools. See what's possible for you.
There are magnet programs, advanced placement and honors classes, and guidance counselors who help us choose the right courses.
You can even earn college credit while in high school.
OCPS has programs for every type of learner.
Orange County Public Schools, leading students to success.
All right, well, let me call this meeting of the Orange County School Board together. I want to welcome everybody tonight. This is a little bit self-serving. I was about to say this is our favorite meeting of the year, but why wouldn't it be? So welcome. We're so glad y'all are here tonight. Let me first welcome for our introduction the Reverend Kenneth Green II of Prince of Peace Lutheran Church to deliver our invocation. Reverend Green, welcome, sir.
Would you join me in a prayer? Gracious God, we thank you for those who are going to be taking on their duties today, those who are reelected and those who are newly elected. We pray that you would continue to guide them with your wisdom, that they would make decisions for the common good, and that they would carry out their duties faithfully. We pray also that you would bless all educators and administrators, and especially bless students and their families, that they would excel, that the students would grow in a love of learning, and that they would know true success. I ask this with respect for people of all faiths and those who claim none, and I offer my prayer in the name of my personal Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Green. That was very nice. And now if you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight is a somewhat bittersweet occasion for many of us on this board and for many in the audience as well, because we're losing tonight to higher and better office, but one of our most esteemed board members, the dean of the board, Mr. Rick Roach, who I believe has now served 16 years on this school board and has served so capably. And Rick, I know all the board members wanted to say a few words. I'm going to lead off. I just want to share with this audience that it's been my pleasure to know Rick, it's hard to believe it's been this long, almost 25 years. I met Rick when I was a young guy who had just moved to Orlando. We lived in the same neighborhood, and we had a community pool in the neighborhood. And I'll never forget, one day I was out there, and this he's always tan, good-looking guy, starts to talk to me. At that time, I was just sort of getting involved in politics and struck up a conversation, and it started a friendship that has lasted 25 years. I've never shared this with Rick, but I think that the thing I've always admired the most about Rick Roach is that in every sense of the word, he's always been a bit of a role model for me, because from a very young age, I became determined to become more of a gentleman. And every year of my life, I work on being a gentleman. And Rick Roach is the ultimate gentleman. I have never seen Rick Roach lose his temper with anybody. I have never seen him utter an ill word about anybody. I have never heard him speak disparagingly of anybody. Rick and I, and Rick and any other member of this board, can disagree vehemently on a topic, and yet Rick, throughout the debate, always keeps it professional, never makes it personal, and just really has just been a joy and a role model for all of us, I think, on how to conduct ourselves in public office. Rick, I am the richer for knowing you these last 25 years. And I want to thank you for setting such a great example, not just for me, but for your children, for your family, and for our entire community. Thank you, Rick. Mrs. Robinson.
I, too, want to thank Rick for being so welcoming. You know, even before I made the decision to run for school board, and those of you out there that know Rick, all you got to do is call him and he'll take you out to coffee. And I just appreciate that so much. I remember I met with you and Marge at the Panera on Lake Eola. That was my first time actually meeting with you. And that was when I was trying to decide whether to run for school board. And you were just so welcoming and so inviting. And you're just that way with everyone who comes in the room. And I really, really appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing where you head out next, following you and rooting for you. Do something really great. And I, too, appreciate the fact that you are such a gentle spirit and you're so kind. And it's very much like Mr. Sublette said, you never have an ill word to say about anyone. And and he does that even in private quarters, too, not just in public. So I appreciate you. I'm going to miss my drinking, buddy. We're beer drinkers on the board. And no, wait a minute. That came out totally wrong. I knew that Rick and I were going to be fellow beer drinkers when he had us over to his house. And if you've ever been to Rick's house, you know so anyway, I'm getting worse. The hole's getting bigger here. So, Rick, me, you, and Steph will have to get together for beer again sometime soon. And I had to put some humor in there, guys. I'm going to miss you, and congratulations for the great 16 years and best wishes on your future endeavors.
Well, this will start a trend. I just want you all to know that I am a coffee drinker. Ms. Gould.
I have only had the pleasure of serving with Mr. Roach for 2 years, but I'll tell you, I learned so much from serving with you, and especially on how to make sometimes some of the most complicated issues into a story that everybody could understand and grasp the effect of what we were doing or saying or making a ruling on. And that talent to really be able to bring it down to the most common denominator, which is the best effect on our children, is something I hope that I could glean a little bit of and apply. And thank you for teaching me that. And thank you for the 2 brief years that I got to serve with you, because it really has been a pleasure. Thank you.
This is wonderful.
Mrs. Gordon.
Oh, well, gosh, I'm still laughing about Mrs. Robinson. I didn't want to follow Ms. Robinson, so thank you.
She don't want to follow you.
I was on the floor. I'm telling you, I love you. That's awesome. Let me just follow Ms. Robinson on this. At least she was truthful, and I love it. But I'm going to really tell you the real deal. I think I've known Rick the longest on this board. We met in the early 60s, and we were trying to get elementary counselors in the state of Florida. And Bob Graham was the governor, and you were in the legislature at that time during the 60s and 70s. And we would have to come and go to Tallahassee and lobby. And I thought that he was the best-looking man that I had ever seen. I said, this man is good-looking. He had beautiful brown skin, like our chairman stated. He had gorgeous black silky hair. His eyes were just sparkling, and he was cool, and he always wore a suit. And then when he put on his sports clothes, it was incredible. The only thing that I could not understand about Rick at this board table, he was the only one that could side with both sides with one vote, and all of his people come out happy. I mean, for the life of me, how do you do that? Oh, that Rick Roach is wonderful, but he just voted against you. Oh, but we just think he's just awesome. But he didn't vote your way. Well, that's all right. It is. We'll get it. We'll get it. But I've never seen anybody that's, and that is true. I think each board member up here, he can take that one vote and make everybody happy with that one vote. On a zoning, on a closing, on anything, they just agree with Rick Roach. But I want to say, Rick, it has been a pleasure. We both have been counselors together. We've been teachers together. We've gone and lobbied together. We've worked together. I think I've been on here the longest with you on the board. You've given us that respect. And I want to say to Linda, I remember when I was coming on board and somebody said, well, will you support Cat Gordon? He said, well, I just don't want to get in any of those races because I don't know who's going to sit in that seat. But I want you to know that you are awesome. And one day I'm going to show you that letter. And I'm going to hold it for you when you get to the top where you want to make. And I'm going to say, this is what got you where you wanted to be. And I do hope that all of your dreams come true. And believe it or not, it has been a pleasure. And I think you know that, working with you. And I still love you, even though your black, shiny hair is gone.
I feel like I just came out of a screening of How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Miss Flynn.
I may be speechless. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Roach, it's been a delight to sit next to you for the last few years. Everything that everybody has said is just so true. But you know what I gained? There have been times when we haven't been on the same side. But you've never held grudges. You've never, stopped working with everybody. Your ability to reach out to your community, to really, as Mrs. Gordon was saying, bring them in has been remarkable, and it's truly a lesson and a model for all of us. I think too, what I want to say is everybody says you're so kind, but you are ready to fight. You are ready to fight for a cause. You're ready to fight for students, and you're ready to fight for your fellow teachers, and that's very admirable. It's very admirable. I just really admire it, and I take some of that being next to you, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's something that we all can share. And I just have one last comment. I think I'm digging your hair right now because it's looking good. You got it cut. You got it cut, so I'm digging it right now. So, you are going to be missed. You're going to be missed. Best wishes, and we're looking forward to you being up there in Tallahassee because they need your passion and they need your fight.
Yeah.
Miss Moore.
It's funny to hear your stories because I have some similar ones. The first person I called when I decided to run for school board was you. And Mrs. Robinson, I met him at the same Panera on Lake Eola. That must be your spot, Rick. Has anybody else met him at Lake Eola? Linda?
Wait a minute. He moved off of Michigan. You used to have to meet him at the Michigan Paneras.
But I've really enjoyed serving with you, and I certainly appreciate your passion, and you're so welcoming when visitors come to this boardroom. They always felt like they could, share whatever their concerns or angst or even joys with the board because you were so welcoming to them. And we've, in the last few years when I knew what you were planning to do next, I've enjoyed talking political strategies with you and talking about polling and issues, to be able to use in your future endeavors. So I truly wish you the best because you were really such a big part of me coming and serving on this board. And I know you do a great job in Tallahassee. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Ms. Cadle.
Rick, I'm going to take you down a whole different path. When I first came on the board, Rick said, someone needs to go through Leadership Winter Park and someone needs to stay involved. Okay, I was class 14. I've been involved for 11 years. I heeded your words. I go back every year and do Education Day. So I think that I took your challenge, and I hope I've done you proud with it. And Rick, does their leadership retreat for Leadership Winter Park every year over at the beach. And if you have ever seen him in that light, my table, unfortunately, I'm sad to say, we were fighting over the stupidest things, and he was doing like a mining game or something. And when we got to the end of it, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we took the bait and we fought over the dumb things. Rick, I wish you the very best in your future endeavors, and I know great things are ahead for you.
Thank you, Ms. Cadle. Dr. Jenkins.
Mr. Roach, I certainly wouldn't let this opportunity pass without saying a few things to you publicly, and certainly I've said many more to you privately. I want the record to show when we do go out for drinks, I drink ginger ale. But let me say two things on a serious note, because I believe folks may not realize part of your legacy that you leave behind here for Orange County Public Schools. And while I was not here during your entire tenure on the board, I do know of two particular initiatives that started as your brainchild. That was the School Board Coalition, where I-4 corridor school boards get together and have conversations to build strategies together and come up with their legislative platform. I understand that was your original brainchild. And I was around when you first started talking about a means of making sure we were engaging members of the public and getting them more involved in the school system, that they could be certainly our proponents in the community, and certainly if they were better informed, they could certainly speak to issues as they would come up. And that became Leadership Orange. And so those are two signature programs that I want the community to know. Those are your legacy that you leave behind here in Orange County Public Schools. And I want to thank you for your years of service, not just on the school board, but prior to being on the school board, in the classroom, and as a counselor. Thank you for your years of service to the children of this community, and may God bless you in your next endeavor.
No, we're not done yet, Rick. We have to hear from a very special person, your wife, your beautiful wife, on behalf of your family. Stephanie, I'd like to welcome you to the... Oh, wow.
Well, I didn't know him when his hair was black. And I happen to like the salt and pepper look, and I think he's pretty darn good looking. So thank you for pointing that out. I just have a small little note for you. Dear Rick, you are the man of the hour. Judge Rick Roach, time has been your coin, your gold coin of life. This represents your gold coin for all that you have done above and beyond the call of duty. The school board members give out special gold coins, and this is your coin. You circle every second, minute, and hour with targeted focus on students, teachers, parents, and the whole community. You've taken time to listen to others and let them know that their views, thoughts, and feelings are important. Through the time of 16 years, you circled the community on your bike with the Ride for Education. You circled the various roles within the school district: teacher, guidance counselor, and school board member of District 3. Your caring spirit encircles the room time after time with an open mind and consistent attention to detail. To the man that stands up in time, does not allow time to pass without speaking up for what is right, even if it is difficult. Time does not change us, it unfolds us. Here is, you are the gold timepiece that brings sunshine to those during tough times, and that give hope to others when they feel time is running out, and strengthen those around you to utilize time now. A quote here: time has been transformed and we have changed. It has advanced and set us in motion. It has unveiled its face, inspired us with bewilderment and exhilaration. You are the timepiece that has affected all around you. Thank you again for taking real time each day to help others. Enjoy your time as you travel in another direction to share your time again. From the teacher, your loyal friend, your biggest fan, and your wife, I love you.
That was beautiful, Stephanie. Mr. Rick Roach.
Well, this gray-headed, beer-drinking old man thanks you for your comments this evening. I thank all of you so much for those kind words, and I will tell you that this has been one heck of a last 60 days. I wish I could tell you how. I did not anticipate this. I knew about a year ago I wasn't going to run for school board again. I knew I had to move on. But it didn't start hitting me for a while, and it's almost like 16 years of floodgates have opened up in my mind. I don't think I've slept more than 3.5 hours for the last 2 months, and that's the truth, unless I took a ZQuil, and that gets me another 2 hours. But I've let it happen because I felt like it was a natural process, and I just wanted to get it going. So I wrote some notes tonight, and I hope that you will allow me to share some of my thank yous and some of my learnings and some of my hopes for the future with you. And so I will begin by showing you a note that was exactly 16 years old. I sat at this table that night with Dennis Smith, the superintendent, and Frank Kruppenbacher, the attorney, and I must have had a slew of family members here. Ron Blocker today says I broke the record for all the family members coming. But unfortunately, at the very end, I had forgotten, I will confess now, I'd forgotten about my wife, of all the people I thanked. And this note came from all the way over there to here before I ended my speech. It saved my rear end right here. And so I somehow pulled it off that I was saving the very best for last. And of course, she knew what was going on, but she forgave me for that. But so tonight, I want to start with my late wife, Mo, and just say that she helped me through so many of the elections, and I forgot to thank her that night. But she helped me with election number 1, and I lost it, and she cried. And election number 2, and I lost that one, and I cried. And election number 3, we won, and we won 4, and we won 5. And she was so instrumental in all that. And those of you that are running for office and you have a spouse, you know how terribly difficult that can be on your other half. And then I will tell you that I didn't see it coming, but here comes Steffi Roach down the road. And I was running for school board in my 6th election. And I told her so. I said, you may want to put this dating thing off for a while because I'm running. And she said, no, I'm jumping in. So Steffi helped me with the election number 6. And of course, now she's jumping into one that's 5 times bigger. So bless her heart for that. But I did want to thank, do my justice on that one. I want to thank my children. 2 of them are here. I have 7 children. 2 are here. And Judge, would you stand up? Judge is my son, who was about 14 years old when I was elected. Kyle, you stand up. He was 10 years old when I was elected. And my beautiful daughter-in-law, Cassie, would you stand up? What are you doing over there, honey? Oh, okay. They're not getting along, I think, tonight. I'm leaving a little bit of a legacy here with carrying it on. Kyle is now a teacher at University High School. He's teaching the culinary program. He's taking his culinary skills into a pilot program, and I'm very proud of him. I want to also tell you I have 2 wonderful sisters. My sisters, Kathy and Lisa. Would you please stand? And they are so fun. I'm so lucky to have 2 sisters that are a blast. My sister Kathy's a former principal. We got to serve in the same district, at District 3. She's the finest educator I believe I've ever met. She's just wonderful. I want to tell you my niece and nephew are here, Gina and Jeff. Would you please stand? Gina and Jeff, both are OCPS employees. Jeff just got Teacher of the Year over at the Esteem program. And I'm going to just kind of go slow so I don't forget anybody else and then live to tell about it later on. The 3 superintendents I got to serve with. Dennis Smith, I got to serve with Ron Blocker in those 12 years, and now Barbara Jenkins, who's never met a goal she didn't tackle. I have served with 19 different school board members over the years, and they've flashed over my mind. I've even dreamed about them. I thought, how could I even dream about that? I can't believe it. They were in my dreams, but I've certainly enjoyed serving with all of you. And boy, we've really come a long way, haven't we? We've really accomplished a lot. And I want to thank, too, my community. My supporters, first of all, who I would not be here if they did not support me, either with their tennis shoes walking or their telephones or their emails or their money. You've been so important to me. I want to thank the people of Orange County that passed those referendums. When I was a board member in 1998, we were 0 for 8. We were actually afraid to put a referendum out. We were afraid to do it. And with the help of Dick Batchelor, the entire school system, we were able to pull it off. And now look, the good people of Orlando, we will now have, because of that, I will have dedicated probably 110 schools in my 16-year career here. I don't know if there's another board member in America that's probably dedicated that many schools. And you know what? We'll have the finest facilities in America within 4 to 5 years because of you, the community who stood up for that. We have the 1 mill. Another $88 million keeps us from having to cut horrible things that we cut before while I was on this board. Me and Kat and Joey probably were on the board when we had to cut, and Daryl, sports programs and art programs. It was horrible. So thank you for all of you. And I want to also thank Linda Colbert and for this opportunity that she now has. And Linda, you're inheriting just some wonderful people, wonderful schools. You will have a ball, and I will be there for you anytime you need me for coffee and whatever Nancy drinks over there. And I see Julio Rocha here. That campaign that they had, those 4 people, that was the cleanest, most positive campaign I've seen in 16 years at any level, from federal all the way down here. And I want to congratulate all of you. Julio and Linda was really instrumental in that. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. So I want to also thank all of my area superintendents. There must have been a half a dozen. They're kind to me, but I know I wore them out because any kind of complaint I got, I fired it right to them. The district staff who've always been there with me. To my loyal assistants, starting with Ailita, who told me for a couple of years, you're going to get your hand slapped, you're going to get your hand slapped. Anytime I would step out of the boundary, she always told me that. And I just called her the other day and wished her well. To Susan was to Deborah, to Dee Bird and Denise Doobie Doo and Margarita Straight Up and On the Rocks. These are people who, it just depends on Margarita's mood whether she's straight up or on the rocks when she calls her. Joseph and Mel have been wonderful up there at the school board office, and I'll never forget Margarita when she calls me and says, Rick, where are you? And I'll say, why? Am I supposed to be somewhere? Yes, you're supposed to be at Panera's at 2 o'clock. I said, Margarita said, buy me 20 minutes. And I hang up and I go, and people are friendly when I get there. They're not mad at me. So thank you, Margarita. To all the teachers, all the school staff, I've invaded your schools over the years, dozens and dozens of times, trying to learn, trying to thank you, trying to see how things are going in the classroom. And of course, to all the children of Orange County Public Schools that have taught me way, way more than I've ever taught them. I thank all of you for that. And I think I've got my thank yous where I need to be now. I want to talk about lessons learned very quickly, because you don't get on the school board and really navigate it unless you learn things or you bring things that are very important to you, kind of principles that go along. If you've ever been in my office, it looks pretty tacky. You might notice a lot of slogans and sayings taped up around the wall, and I look at those all the times and they guide me. So I want to tell you about some that have guided me over the years, and this one comes from my mother, who was a longtime Phyllis Wheatley elementary teacher. My mom had the biggest heart of anybody that I know. She was so kind, and she used to say, Richard, a bleeding heart is better than no heart at all. And I said, Mom, Vince Lombardi said something like that. He said, heart power is the strength of any institution. And I look back over the years at all the decisions I've made, and I will tell you quite honestly, all the big decisions I ever made, I made with my heart. The little ones I made with my mind. The heart is very, very important, I think, and I thank you, Mom, for that. From my dad, whole different animal. He said to me one time, Richard, there aren't many crazy people in the world. They just move around a lot. He said, always consider the source. And I never knew what that meant, honest to God. I didn't know what it meant until I grew up a little bit later on. Consider the source. I was like, what is it, a water fountain? What is it? But I think what you find out in the school board land sometimes, some people can be cruel. They can be harsh. And you need a tough skin, and I never had one. But what I did have, thank goodness, was skin that grew back very fast. That's what I had. And I was able to navigate that thanks to things like my dad, who told me that when people are mean, when they're cruel, consider who they are and where they come from. And that sometimes takes away a lot of the power. From my mentor and good friend, Marion Brady, longtime writer and educator, says 2 words to me when things got dicey on the school board. He would say, Rick, buck up. I didn't know what that meant either. I just knew that probably meant, get your head up, get your shoulders back and just go forward. Along that line, I grew up with my grandfather, who was the judge. That's how my name has really gone on. My grandfather was a police judge. A lot of people don't know that. So my dad grew up with a nickname of Judge, and that became my name, real name, and my son's name. But he said something I never understood as a kid, but now I do. And he said, when you bury your head in the sand, remember what you leave exposed. And I couldn't ever get that visual out of my mind on the school board, and that helped me sometimes to face very, very tough issues head on, eyeball to eyeball, because it's a lot better to do that than to really ignore it. And so I really thank Pap Roach for his wonderful advice, lessons learned from Granny Kate, my wonderful mother, the grandmother, she said, there's a lid for every kettle. Another one I didn't understand growing up. And it was a one size doesn't fit all, she would say. And I think what I've learned from that is kids come to us with so many different needs and so many different talents. And it's important, I think, that we match up the things that we have in schools with the kids, rather than have the kids match up with the things. I think that's a really important piece of advice there. Will Rogers, on leadership, it was really important to me. He said, if you're going to ride head of the herd, be sure you turn around once in a while to see if the herd's still behind you. And I think that really speaks volumes about being a school board member. I have survived in this 4 elections, I think, because I've listened to people. I've listened to where I think they want to go and what they need, and that's how you get the herd to follow you. You just simply see where they're heading, and you get out front. That's about it. There's no secret to it. Sometimes you have to speak out. And I appreciate that being said tonight. Sometimes you have to speak out when you think things need to be said. And I had a quote from Martin Luther King up on my board, and it says, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about what matters." And that has really guided me a lot, because sometimes I want to be silent. I'd rather just not say anything. And I've never really been able to be at peace with that. And so Mr. Socrates, who I never met, said, it's better to be at odds with the world than to be at odds with yourself. And so I figured that was pretty good advice. I'd rather be at odds with other people than not be able to look at myself. So that's how I really steered myself through some tough deals. It's a lot riskier not to do something sometimes than to do it. So the last thing I've got in here, and y'all have heard me say this lately, but it comes from the military. I had a short stint with the military and the Army, and of course listened to a couple of generals talk, and they all really say the same thing, and that is, trust the front line. They're always right. Trust the front line. They're always right until proven otherwise. And I think of our teachers, and our cafeteria workers, and our bus drivers, and the people who are on the front line every day. We've got to listen to them. We've got to trust them. We've got to see what it is that they want. And lastly, Bill Sublette, when we have our retreats every year, and by the way, Bill, I have to tell you, when I was cleaning out my office and I was in the 1998 and 1999, there was a letter from me to Representative Bill Sublette in Tallahassee. I thought that was pretty cool. I'd forgotten about that. We actually exchanged letters back in those days. But I think the king for a day he gives us, he says, if you were king or queen for a day, what would you want to do? What would you do? And so I came up with a couple of things that I thought was important before I leave here tonight, and that is to make data the servant and not the master. To make data the servant and not the master. We've become so numbers-driven in education these days, so data-driven. And we have to always remember that it's simply a helper, and that kids are people, and we need to look at the whole picture and not just the number. I think we need to let teachers teach again. I think we've lost that. I think that we have now scripted them where the veteran teachers can't be innovative. It's hard to be innovative. And I will tell you, as a teacher in the early 70s, I appreciated being able to be innovative. It's what saved my rear end a lot of times with kids, was being able to think outside the box with them. And lastly, watch kids and they'll teach us what they need. And you bring the joy back into education. All you have to do is watch those little buggers, and they'll teach you exactly how to work with them. So I'll finish with, someone asked me, I think it was a reporter the other day, she said to me, she says, so what was your favorite thing, your favorite memory? And it was hard to come up with a favorite memory after 16 years, and so I said this. My favorite memory is the best part of my career was all the little things all added up. That's the best way I think I can say it. It was all the things all added up. Even the big fish or the little fish, it didn't matter which ones needed to be fried. That was pretty much it. So let me just tell you that I've so enjoyed these 16 years. And thank you all for being there for me. And let me just tell you that as I leave this office and go on for a new challenge, if there's anything I can ever do for you, you just call me and I'll be there for you. Thank you very much.
Rick, we have a small token of this district's appreciation for you, a plaque to hang on your wall. It's not near as significant as Steph's trophy for you. It's really not. But I think we'd all like to get a picture presenting you your plaque. Yeah, let's all file out front real quick. All right, before I go into the swearing-in ceremony and introduce Judge LeBlanc, I do want to recognize we are joined tonight by two elected officials. I was remiss in not recognizing them earlier. I hope he's still here. Bill Cowles. Did Bill leave? Oh, well, Bill Cowles was here, and Commissioner Phil Diamond is with us, one of our former city councilmen. Commissioner. Also, we have a birthday tonight, Damari. Happy birthday. Damari is our OSPA president. Happy birthday. All right, it's my great pleasure now to introduce Judge Robert LeBlanc of the Ninth Judicial Circuit. He is going to administer our oath of office. Judge LeBlanc, our judiciary is so burdened today and so busy. We so appreciate you coming down here and taking the time out of your schedule to administer the oath of office to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. And, you know, I just want to say I've never been to a school board meeting before. I don't consider myself a prude, but these are pretty sexy. All this hot and heavy talk. Okay, we'll start with the chair.
Okay.
Yeah, don't ask a judge if he's a drinker. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will protect and defend
that I will protect and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida,
the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida,
that I'm duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and perform the duties of member, School Board of Orange County, Florida.
and perform the duties of member, school board member of Orange County, Florida.
Congratulations. All right, next we'll have Joey Cadle.
I have two special people that I want to come up together with my son, Rob, and mom and dad, if you will stand up so that we can recognize you. My mom and dad and my sister are here. And I won't make you come out of the road. Yeah. With Rob and I. But Dylan and Davis, will you come up and stand with me? Because this is why I do what I do every day. These are students at Barber Ridge School, and they're very special to me, so they're going to stand up with me. And this is my son, Rob. So come on, boys, this is what we do every day and why we do it. So you stand here with me.
All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will protect and defend
that I will protect and
the
defend
Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States and the state of Florida,
of the United States and the state of Florida,
that I'm duly qualified
and that I am duly
to
qualified
hold office under the Constitution
to hold office under the Constitution
of the state and perform the duties
of the state and perform the duties
of member, School Board of Orange County, Florida.
and member School Board of Orange County, Florida.
Close enough.
Thank you. You're the best. We have to have a selfie before you leave.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for coming up here and joining me. I am so proud. Thanks, Rob. And my grandson Watson was here. He's going to be 2 next month, and he can't sit still.
All right, Daryl Flynn.
No, they left.
Oh, they are turtles. Now I see they're turtles. Now I see that they're turtles. I couldn't see that. Wherever you want them. Okay, repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will protect and defend
that I will protect and
the
defend
Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States and the state of Florida,
of the United States and the state of Florida,
that I'm duly qualified
that I'm duly
to
qualified
hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and perform the duties of member,
and perform the duties of member,
School Board of Orange County, Florida.
School Board of Orange County, Florida.
And last but not least, we'll have Linda Cobert. It's a small world. I just wanted to let you know I had the pleasure of attending University of Miami Law School with her husband, Roy.
He's one of my best friends.
Okay, repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will protect and defend
that I will protect and defend
the Constitution and governments
the Constitution and governments
of the United States and the state of Florida,
of the United States and the state of Florida,
that I'm duly qualified to hold office
that I'm duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state
under the Constitution of the state
and perform the duties of member,
and perform the duties of member,
School Board of Orange County, Florida.
School Board of Orange County, Florida.
Congratulations. There you go, it's official.
Okay, elbow.
If I get to talk to her. Put two arms together. That's vicious.
All right. Well, you know what? Linda Cobert has been a friend of mine for 17 years now. And I am so thrilled that she won this election and she's sitting up here with us. You've probably noticed that we're a little bit lacking in the Y chromosome up here at the board table. So if we have a vacancy, if any men want to step up and run for the school board, I lost my one running mate that I had. But I love women, and I'm thrilled. Thrilled to be working with Linda. Now, let me get out of this one. Let me just stop right there. My son thought that was very funny. Well, I want to thank you all. Each school board member now is going to make a few comments. I just want to thank the citizens of Orange County for re-electing me. You know, any politician, whenever we're on a ballot and we have no opposition, it's actually, in a lot of ways, very affirming. You feel really good about yourself. And I have to share with you all on election night, I was looking at the election returns come in. I thought, wow, I got 218,000 votes and I drew no opposition. I was really feeling good about myself until Bill Cowles called me up. And he said, "You realize that Mickey Mouse got 201 votes against you, Bill?" And Donald Duck 22, and Bugs Bunny 4. I will share with you that if you're into these kind of things, that Homer beat Bart Simpson in my race, Santa Claus beat the Tooth Fairy, Elmo beat the Cookie Monster, and Luke Skywalker beat Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. Although I am disappointed that Napoleon Dynamite only received one vote in my race. I want to thank my wife and children. I'm so very, very proud of my children. I always share with folks that I have great kids, and I really do have great kids. I think Susan and I are so proud of the fact that when we talk about our kids that they all have loving hearts, they're kind, caring individuals, and they treat people with respect. And that's really all that we demand out of our children. And I want to thank them for their support of their dad. Guys, stand up and let me embarrass you a little bit so we can recognize you. I want to thank my wife. I've been in this game a long time, and it is very, very hard on the spouses. And a lot of her best friends are in here tonight, so I'm sure they've heard all the war stories. It's a little bit, a little chagrin to share how wonderful she is, because I think they know better than I do how wonderful she is. But my wife, Susie Sublett, honey, stand up. Dr. Jenkins, I want to thank our OCPS team. The last 4 years has been terrific for me. We have an organization of dedicated professionals who, at their very core, care about children. And each and every day, all 23,000 of our employees, including our senior administrators, all the way down to our custodial workers, our bus drivers, and of course our 13,000 classroom teachers, get up every morning caring about one thing, and that's children and the success of the children that they serve, whether in their classrooms or in their schools. I especially appreciate, and I think it's probably the biggest surprise I had when I got elected to the board, our collegiality. Well, Linda, you are going to come to love the collegiality of the board, the relationship that we have with our staff, the relationships that we have with our principals and our teachers, and that's no accident. That's really the culture of Orange County Public Schools, and I've been very, very blessed with that. I also want to thank this board. People ask me all the time, do you still like doing this? And I love doing this. I'm a bit of a policy wonk. And what I love about it is because we're making a difference each and every day in the lives of children. And I love our relationship, Dr. Jenkins, that we have with the administration. We have a wonderful school board here in Orange County, and that to have a highly effective functioning school board, each of us has to understand our roles. Our role at the board is policy. The superintendent's role and her team's role is implementation and execution. And I've been blessed with two wonderful superintendents. And the one thing that surprised me more than anything when I got elected to this board is how closely the superintendent, especially Dr. Jenkins, but before her, Mr. Blocker as well, listened to what this board's desires are and does everything she can to move heaven and earth to make sure that she implements our policy. So Dr. Jenkins, thank you very, very much for that. I also want to thank this community. We have a vision to be the top producer of successful students in the nation, and that's not just empty rhetoric. That's truly what we aspire to. And I want to take a brief moment here to share with you where we've been and where we're going, because I think it's important. And there's a lot of folks in here tonight that I've known for a long time who I respect immensely, and I want you to hear some of this, to be very, very candid. I dusted off my installation remarks from 4 years ago and the things that I said. And 4 years ago, I said that first and foremost, the single most important job before this board in the next 4 years was to hire a new superintendent of schools to replace the retiring Ron Blocker, who had been with us for 13 years. And I think I can say without equivocation on behalf of the entire board that we hired an absolute superstar and we hit a home run in Dr. Barbara Jenkins. I talked about how we needed lobbying and ethics reform and new policies, and how we needed to really address what was going on in our facilities department and provide greater oversight. And we did audits of both those, implemented new lobbying and ethics policies. Y'all will chuckle if you have a morbid sense of humor. I measure success when it comes to lobbying and ethics and facilities by how many months go by without a story appearing in the Orlando Sentinel or on the TV news at night talking about our facilities department or about any ethical lapses or issues. And I'm very, very proud of the fact, and I don't claim credit, it's this board's leadership and Dr. Jenkins and Mr. Blocker, that when you think about it, you have not read a single negative story and only positive stories about our facilities program and our construction program for the last 2.5, 3 years. And I can't think of a single scandal or allegation of impropriety that we've read about, knock on wood, for the last 3.5 or 4 years. That's very, very important, and I'm very, very proud of the fact, because we are entrusted with the public's trust. I talked about ESOL and ELL improvements for our English language learners and ESC improvements for our difficult to educate and those who are overcoming challenges in their lives. And we performed audits of both those departments under Dr. Jenkins and Mr. Blocker's leadership. We've implemented sweeping reforms in both our ELL, ESOL programs and also on our ESE programs. And while they're not perfect, I'm always reminded of the quote of Vince Lombardi that I love. Lombardi once said that, well, perfection is not attainable. If we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. And I think we've really come far in our ESOL programs and in our ESE programs. And I talked about our graduation rate 4 years ago, and about career technical or vocational education. If there's one thing you will hear each and every one of us talk about when we're out there on the stump, it's how proud of the fact we are that our graduation rate has gone from 49% under a more liberal, looser standard of measuring graduation 12 years ago to 87% today among our 19 traditional high schools. So that's a tribute to all of our students who work hard every day and our teachers out there. I'm always reminded of a phrase a cat loves to say. I use this all the time, and I stole it from her. A cat loves to say, it's a poor frog that doesn't praise its own pond. I have to share that with you. I shared that with my family in a text recently, my extended family, and boy, I heard about it. They love that. They talked about it for the next 2 months. We've had some tremendous accomplishments in the last 4 years. We've started a philanthropic strategic plan where we've really challenged the philanthropy of this community into our public schools. We've raised over $4 million in newfound philanthropy for Orange County Public Schools in the last 3 years alone. We've expanded, I know I have a lot of our Blankner family in here, we've expanded our K-8 program as we sit here today, and I'm a fervent believer, as some of you may be, in the K-8 model. We have expanded our K-8 schools to where we are now in the design stage on 2 K-8 schools, a model urban school for downtown Paramore, and one out in the Wedgeville community, and we have 3 more that we may build as well. We won the Governor Sterling Award for operational efficiency. We're only the 3rd public school district in the 21-year history of the Sterling Award, which is the state equivalent of the Malcolm Baldrige Award, to win it. And it was so important to us to aspire to that because it signifies both efficiency with tax dollars and, most importantly, customer service, which has really been a hallmark of this board over the last 4 years, and especially with a focus on the customer being the parent who entrusts us with their child's education. On the academic front, we started a Super Scholars program. I'm so incredibly proud of this program, where we recognize graduates of Orange County Public Schools who are going to America's Tier 1 universities, the top 20 universities in America, as measured by U.S. News & World Report, or the top 20 liberal arts schools. So that's of course, your Harvards, your Yales, Princetons, Caltech, Chicago's, Stanfords, and also your Bowdens and your Swarthmores and your Wellesleys. We had 81 public school students last year get admitted to those schools. We've had 251 students in the last 3 years alone get into America's elite colleges and universities. And we started that program because it's important that parents know, who have choices in this day and age, that if they entrust us with their child's education, their kid has as much a chance of getting into America's elite colleges and universities coming out of a public high school as they do any private school in Central Florida. We are an AP honor roll district. We're one of only 4% of the no more than 6,000 school districts in America to earn that distinction, for increasing the level and the number of our AP and honor course offerings. And as we rose the number of kids that go into those courses, we've kept up the pass rate and even risen our pass rate on the AP exam. And for the first time in our district's history, all 19 of our high schools were either A, B, or C schools, with 17 of those 19 being A or B schools and the other 2 being C schools, something that for years you would have thought impossible, because any large urban districts always struggles, especially with its higher poverty inner city schools. And then the coup de grace. And you see it here sitting in front of you, this trophy. I'm going to talk about it a moment, the Broad Prize, the jewel in our crown. I'm going to read you something. This is a quote of what was in my speech from 4 years ago. I said 4 years ago, quote, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Public Schools, Boston Public Schools, the San Francisco School District, New York City Department of Education, Gwinnett County Public Schools. These are but a few of the urban districts educators, academicians, and the media repeatedly mention when the subject turns to those urban school districts taking innovative, progressive approaches to public education. All these school systems have either won or been perennial finalists for the Broad Prize, the largest education award in the country given to urban districts, a prize which goes to those districts which demonstrate the greatest overall performance and improvement in student achievement, while also reducing the achievement gap among low-income and minority students. There is no reason why we cannot become a part of that conversation. There is no reason why we must settle for merely being a good Florida school district when we should aspire to becoming a great American school district. When I uttered those words 4 years ago, and it was a vision shared by Dr. Jenkins' entire board, I thought it would take us at least 7 or 8 years just to become a Broad finalist. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that we would win the Broad Prize only 4 years after embarking upon that journey. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. I will close with this, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cadle. You may ask why all this matters. and I share all the time with audiences, all this matters because, very simply put, reputation matters. And it matters immensely in public education today. We live in an era of choice. If you all have heard me give speeches out there in the community, no longer do we have a monopoly on the kid in the neighborhood to choose between only public school or expensive private school. We now compete with homeschooling, which has exploded, charter schools. We have 32 now in this county, and they grow every year. Virtual education, private school scholarship vouchers, where any kid can get a voucher of tax dollars and go to a public school. Many of you in this room, and I thought about this when I wrote this today about the audience, many of you, if not all of you, have the resources, the financial resources to send your child to any school in the county. Yet we live in a community that still largely decides to send their children to our public schools, even though they can afford to send their kids to private schools, or they can choose a charter school or virtual education or home education. And I believe that they choose Orange County Public Schools because we still have a reputation and are growing that reputation as a very, very good public school district. It matters because resources matter. You know, I'm a Republican office holder, and one thing I've always sort of not liked about my party's own dogma is that sometimes a lot of folks in my own party like to say money doesn't matter, it's not everything. And you know what? They're right. But in some things, just as in your business or in your private life, you have to invest sometimes if you want excellence. This community has invested not once, not twice, but 4 times in the last 12 years alone in Orange County Public Schools. In 2002, they passed a half-cent sales tax, the first successful public school funding initiative to pass in over 30 years in Orange County after 6 consecutive failures to fund the renovation and construction of our public schools. They stepped back up to the plate and passed the 1 mil 4 years ago to help us ride out the recession so we could keep all of our athletic programs, so we could have an arts program and music programs in all of our schools. They stepped up to the plate not once, but twice. And I have to share with you a little bit of inside baseball. I thought it was a mistake going out there for both tax renewals this year. And we needed the sales tax desperately because we needed to finish the construction program. And we've seen time and again how much of a difference it's made in the quality of the education a child receives, them going to a safe, secure, modern facility with technology, modern technology in it. And twice this year, the voters stepped up and renewed the sales tax by a 64% vote, I believe, and the millage by an overwhelming 76% approval rate. That's because we have a growing reputation and a reputation that matters. We're on the right trajectory, and it's why this poor frog has to praise its own pond once in a while. We do have some challenges in front of us. Many in this room know that we face a rising tide of anger and frustration because of the accountability movement and because of the over-testing of our students, and that has placed excessive demands on our children. And I'll be very candid with you, I have 3 children myself in public school. It's placed excessive demands, I believe, and my wife believe, on my children. But our challenge in that at the school board level is to channel that anger and that frustration towards productive change at the state and federal level, to ask our policymakers for restraint and for them to hit the pause button while we assess where we are, while not abandoning the reforms that have brought us from literally the bottom of the barrel to one of the nation's leaders in public education. And I will share with y'all, Florida is viewed nationwide as one of the nation's leaders in public education and the advancements we have made among all of our learners. I want to ask you to consider that issue, and I know I have some folks in here tonight who are dear friends of mine who are passionate on the issue, as an issue. Consider the issue of accountability also as an issue of equality, even as a civil rights issue. 20 years ago in our own community, 20 years ago throughout the state of Florida and our country, poor children and minority children were left behind in many public school districts in our country. They weren't graduating. They had no access to high rigor AP and honors courses, and high academic performance wasn't expected or demanded of them. In fact, I heard a phrase recently I've started to repeat a lot. I heard a speaker call it the soft bigotry of low expectations. And that's really what it was. It was saying, you know what, it's good enough just that you're showing up every day and that you're here, but we're not going to expect a lot out of you. All that has changed. Our children at Evans and Oak Ridge have access to the same rigorous education at those at Winter Park High School and Olympia High School, and the results are showing. Do you know which public school, high school, had the highest graduation rate in Orange County for the last few years? Exceeding Winter Park, Olympia, Timber Creek, Jones High School. 91% graduation rate the last couple of years. I think we need to be careful. My point is that as we try to get our policymakers to rein in the excesses, to hit the pause button, to let us adjust, and to realize that we are, and I do believe we are, over-testing our students, to not throw out the proverbial baby with the bathwater and abandon completely the strides and the advances we have made. And lastly, I'm increasingly concerned about both our children and our middle and the gifted children. With all our focus on high poverty populations and our high need ESC populations, I think we sometimes overlook the average kid who comes to school each and every day ready to learn, who works hard and who behaves and who gets good but not stellar grades or test scores. We need to do more for those kids. We need not forget those kids in the middle. We're looking at more college and career fairs. We're looking at more academic and career guidance at the high school level. We're looking at more magnet offerings to keep those kids engaged. And I'm also worried about our gifted population. This may surprise many of my board members up here, or it may not, may surprise many of you all, but I tend to hear complaints most often from two ends of the spectrum, either our high-need ESE kids, but also, more than I would like to acknowledge, complaints with parents of gifted kids, especially highly gifted kids. If we want parents to keep entrusting us with their children's education and not leave us who have gifted children, especially the very gifted, I think we really need to think long and hard as a board about how we retain those kids, because eventually, and I am politicking a little bit here, board members, we are going to have a gifted charter school open up in this community, and they're going to start to take our kids if we don't make sure we do all we can to keep them here ourselves. Our challenges, I will share with you and close, pale in comparison to our successes. We've gone here as a community. Our mission statement is to lead our students to success with the support and involvement of our families in the community. You all have been wonderful for Orange County Public Schools. Thank you for all you have done for Orange County Public Schools. We wouldn't be here with this trophy in front of us today were it not for you. Thank you very, very much. Ms. Cadle.
Famed author Margaret Mead said, "The solution to adult problems tomorrow depends a large measure upon how our children grow up today." When my children were at Winter Park High School, I began a journey with the Winter Park Health Foundation to build a healthy community where all, both seniors and the very youngest of our children, would live in a nurturing environment. This journey started for me as my sons had both graduated from Winter Park High School and had moved on to college and careers. I am very proud of the young men they have become and the wonderful husbands and fathers they are. This work has now moved for me to build the very best public school system in the nation for my grandson and the young people of this community. As I sat at the grand premiere of the Dr. Phillips Center for Performing Arts, I was in awe of this magnificent building and the opportunities that will come for our students. I ran into Miss Melanie Douglas and her son Christian from University High School. They were there to support one of her students, Casey Gullidge. Casey opened the evening by playing one of the characters in the Book of Mormon, saluting Orlando and how happy he was to be in Orlando. It is an exciting time to live in this community. Opportunities abound for our young people. I would not be sitting here tonight without the love and support of my family. Mom and Dad, thanks for always believing in me and encouraging me to reach for the stars. To Rob, Sarah, and Watson, and yes, Watson has a little attention span, so he's gone. But to Rob, Sarah, and Watson, thanks for loving me unconditionally. I wish my youngest son, Drew, and his wife and family could join us tonight, but they live outside of Denver and couldn't get here. I will be going to see them on Friday to celebrate Roman's 5th birthday. Gwen, thanks for everything. Gwen's my baby sister. To my best friend, Cindy, thanks for always listening, jumping in the car when it was time to deliver more signs, We have been on an interesting journey since high school. To two of my youngest friends and their mom and dad, Amy and Dean, and their sons, Dylan and Davis, thanks for unloading signs, delivering signs, and being such good students. Arbor Ridge is lucky to have you as students and leaders at the school. Mandy, I will never be able to express how proud I am of you. You are a rock star. Your enthusiasm and encouragement keeps me going. I loved working with you in high school, and I am now proud to call you a friend. Joanne, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the sign queen for East Orlando. To many of you who worked so hard behind the scenes and encouraged me, you will never know how much that fed my soul and kept me going when things got tough. To my fellow board members, thanks for your love and support. We have an excellent team. To our OCPS family, I promise to work hard and listen. In closing, many times in Icebreakers you were asked, if you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be? I would love to talk to Margaret Mead. I keep her words on my computer. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Thank you to all of you.
Ms. Flynn.
Thank you. I'm getting a little emotional here. Thank you, Chairman and Sublette, and for sharing the successes that we've had in the past 4 years. I appreciate you outlining them because it really does start to add up and show you all that we've achieved. Chairman and fellow board members, superintendent, and members of the audience, it's truly an honor to be here tonight, to be installed for another term of office. I'm energized and I'm enthused that I have the fortune to help lead students in Orange County Public Schools to continued achievement and opportunity. There's so much that I'd like to say, but I'm going to try to keep it somewhat brief. There's so many people that I need to thank first. From my pastor, Pastor Green, thank you for your invocation tonight. You and he's over on the other side there, but Pastor Green and the associate pastors of Prince of Peace, where I'm a member, have always been so willing to help listen to some of the issues that have come before us as board members, and they've been able to help me just talk about it. I love their tolerance. I love their point of view. They've always been thoughtful in their responses, and I'm thankful for their input. My personal Christian belief is very important to me, and I'm literally thankful to God that they've put these extraordinary men in my life. So, Pastor, thank you so much. My volunteers are awesome, and I'm going to stand up when I call your name. Listen, without these individuals, as we all know, who contributed financially, they waved signs, they held home receptions, they put out signs at night, and always in the right location, I might add. I'm so thankful for your support and friendship. Now, waving signs can take you somewhat out of your your comfort zone. But once they made that first wave and they got a thumbs up, they were good to go. So I'm going to read off some names. Jeanette Gabay. Oh, did Jeanette have to leave? I'm so sorry, but she was awesome, longtime friend. Joe Ellen and Scott McPherson, raise your hand. Raise them high now, like you were waving out there. Susan Johnson. Debbie Taylor had to leave. She's a teacher with OCPS. Pam and Jeff Jones, raise your hand. Jeff is a former board member in Indiana, and Pam's a retired teacher from Indiana. Joanne Johnson, very, very dear friend of mine, was not able to be here. She's been with me through 3 campaigns, instrumental in helping me with all the details. And I'm sorry she couldn't be here, a little under the weather, but I certainly thank her. Jason and Mary Lauren Randall. Yeah, with me all 3 times. Dawn Stewart. Dawn and I go way back. Tony Shinami was actually delivering signs. Carl Howard was always a support. Bobby Beagles. Bobby's always there for you. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. Did I leave anybody, please? I thought Who? Did I get them? Okay. And there were so many more that aren't here tonight, and I'm so, so thankful. We just can't do that without you. I want to recognize some family members. My cousin Zoe, who's from Fairfax, Virginia, and wanted to come all the way down here to go to UCF. So thank you. My sister Sheila Roberts, raise your hand, Sheila, raise them high. Always been supportive despite asking me, and why do you want to do this again? She's always there for me, my best friend. We laugh and cry and everything else together. So thank you, Sheila. My son, Jimmy, raise your hand there, who I'm so proud of, who is a proud graduate of University High School and UCF, went all through OCPS. His past experience in school certainly continues to provide me with such a useful perspective of what makes a student want to go and not want to go to school. So he's an awesome son, and thank you, Jimmy. I love you. His lovely girlfriend, Jillian, is with him. So we're looking to the future on this one.
Okay, now he's duly embarrassed.
We love her. She's perfect for him, just perfect for him. Now, my husband, Jim, who's I've always said before, has always had my back. And when I said, Jim, do you want me to say anything particular about you? And he goes, just tell them all I'm the greatest husband of all time. So he is, and again, had my back throughout all of the campaign, strategically put signs out, had it all together. I love you, Jim, and thank you. Thank you. Now, unfortunately, my parents aren't able to be here tonight, but I do have someone very, very special to me, and that is my uncle, retired Air Force Colonel Gonzalo Buck Fernandez. Raise your hand. I have to tell you a little bit of story about my uncle and his brothers, my dad, because it really creates the foundation of my passion for public school. My uncle and his brothers, Charles and Tony, my father, they all have remarkable stories. They were born in Tampa, Florida, all graduated from public Hillsborough High School. My uncle Charlie then graduated from the University of Miami and became a foreign correspondent with the Miami Herald. My father graduated as a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech and built an AM radio station in Sarasota. And my uncle Buck graduated from West Point Academy and served in the Air Force, retiring as a full colonel, and after his retirement started a successful private business. Now, I believe it's their experience and my own that formed the foundation of my passion and support of public education. You see, these three men were born in Tampa, Florida, outside of Ybor City, whose father worked as a picker and packer at a cigar factory, who grew up speaking only Spanish when they arrived for their first day of school. But they grew up in a school system who recognized their intelligence and potential so that they could grow up and be part of, as Tom Brokaw states, the greatest generation. They grew up, as my father says, thinking of themselves as Americans, but who all valued their rich Spanish heritage. My siblings and I were able to grow up listening to their rich and fascinating stories of their youth and lives, and we continue to do so today. Uncle Buck, I love you. And thank you for being here with me tonight. And for the many in our community who come to school only speaking Spanish or another language, I want them to have the same experiences and outcomes that my father and uncle had. And I know we're going to do that. We are doing it. I feel we've crossed a significant threshold for a whole different approach to public education accountability. It's one that I see holds positive and negative elements, but it's also bringing much angst to our community. I believe we have to find a balance between old school and new school thought that will bring the best educational experience to our students. We need to find a way to keep our teachers enthused, our students engaged, and our parents involved. We need to be aggressive in our pursuit of bringing new technology to our students while maintaining those traditional elements that have long proved beneficial in education, that allow children to grow emotionally and academically strong and give time for a student and teacher to each take a breath during the day. and we must be able to help our parents understand the new standards and assessment process and why it's upon us. I consider myself deeply privileged to work with what many, including me, and as Chair Sublette stated, the best functioning and effective board in Florida. We've been told that many times, so I'm just saying. I admire each one of you and am so proud to serve alongside you. I'm proud to work with a rock star of a superintendent and a rock star staff. I'm honored to represent so many hardworking, passionate, professional, and brilliant teachers and principals in District 2. And I must give my thanks and appreciation to Joseph Morgan, Mel Miller-Smith, Margarita Rivera, and Deborah McGill for always watching our backs up there in school board services, so thank you. So I have a pledge, and my pledge to you, my community, is to govern strong for continued effective policy that will lead our students to success. Because for when our students succeed, our community succeeds. Thank you so much.
Now we've all waited a long time to hear this. Board member Linda Cobert.
Thank you, Chair Sublette. I'm going to keep my remarks brief. I'll have you fooled for later meetings. But as I grow and learn from all of you, I'm sure I'll have much more to say. It's very fitting that next week is Thanksgiving, because I sit here tonight in a state of extraordinary gratitude. I'm grateful for the education that I received, my public education from the state of Florida. That is the reason that I'm able to sit here among all of you today and the opportunity that I have to serve all of you. I'm grateful to now serve alongside a board and a superintendent, a group of people that I have so much respect for. Each and every one of you, whether you know it or not, has been both a mentor and a teacher to me. I'm grateful for the service of Rick Roach, who has been my school board member for the past 15 years. He was always accessible, wise, and kind. And those are the shoes that I hope to fill and the characteristics that I hope to bring to this office. I want to thank my family and my friends, so many of you who are in here tonight. You made so many sacrifices for me over the last 7 months while I went through this process. You sacrificed your time, your treasure, you brought your talents to bear, and I cannot thank you enough. I want to thank my opponents in this race. Rick was right when he said that this was one of the classiest races we have ever seen. And that is due to the 3 opponents that all wanted to serve the children of Orange County. I'm grateful to be sitting here in the seat, but I'm grateful to all of them, who I'm very proud to say have also become my friends. And thank you, Julio, for being here tonight. I'm grateful to my 2 partners from Fund Education Now, Christine and Kathleen. Everyone should be so lucky to have friendships like this, to have friends who are as dedicated to what you care about, and to work long and hard and sacrifice for the children around us. Everyone should be so fortunate to have friends and partners like that. And for my husband, Roy, my very shy husband.
The greatest husband in all.
Yes. I'm sorry. He might be the greatest husband in all the world. But everyone should be so fortunate to have a fine cheerleader, and I call him my secret weapon. You all want to know why I won? He's my secret weapon. I want to make a promise to the voters of Orange County and to my colleagues that I am so proud to sit beside, to be a problem solver, to be a collaborator, to be a good communicator, to be a critical and strategic thinker in all the decisions that I make, to put the children first. Now, I think quoting other people is probably a common trait amongst the people who sit up here. And my family sometimes teases me about repeating often, but I think good words are worth repeating. An African proverb that I've been repeating a lot lately: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So I look forward to working with all of you together, that we may go far for all of you and for the children of Orange County. Thank you for the privilege.
Very well said. Thank you. All right. At this time, audience, we are just about done. We have to do some really quick housekeeping matters. So at this time, I'd like to open, and then we can adjourn. Open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Mrs. Robinson.
Before I do that, because I do want to make a nomination, I have a theme song for Mr. Sublette with your 7 women. I was listening to the radio, which I've shared this a lot. I'm not going to get in the hole with this one. You already got yourself in the hole with this one. I'm just helping you. I listen to the radio a lot in the car because I'm always in the car, and I do a lot of singing, and I sing at random moments. So I'm going to spare you. I probably won't sing, but maybe I will. And the song that came on that made me hysterically laugh when I thought about that you're going to be serving with 7 women is Take It Easy by the Eagles. The first line, running down the road, trying to loosen my load, I got 7 women on my mind. 4 that want to own me, 4 that want to own me, 2 that want to stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. So anyway, that's your theme song with the 7 of us. If any of y'all ever come to board meetings, I'm always the humor in the group. So I won't sing for you tonight, but maybe that'll be our Christmas song that we sing, because we always do something fun for the OCPS Christmas get-together. You can sing it, and we'll all dance or something. Anyway, back to business. I would like to nominate as vice chair, again, a repeat, Miss Kat Gordon. She's done a fabulous job for us, and Joey seconded, and she's done a fabulous job. And I'm gonna take special notes. I help you up here sometimes when you actually take over for the chair. I'm gonna take special notes so that maybe next time around I'll take the helm, because I've been on the board 6 years and have yet to be the vice chair. So I'm loving on Kat and letting her have a second term because she's done a fabulous job. Pow.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm an Eagles fan myself, and usually I think of Lying Eyes when I'm sitting up here.
You just don't know when to quit.
Just happens to be my favorite song. Do you want me to sing that one for you? You can't hide. Okay. All right. Is there a second to that nomination?
Yes.
Ms. Cadle seconds it. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor of the nomination of Mrs. Kat Gordon for a second term as vice chair, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. So her elected unanimously. All right, Kat. Sure.
Okay. I remember when Daryl sat in the seat, and when Joey was fortunate, though. And Rick was very fortunate because they had to serve as chair. And where we elected them as chair. So I remember Daryl Flynn when we just loved her so because of her PTA background. So Linda, you know, with your advocacy with Kathleen and the ladies, we will never forget your dedication to Mr. Blocker, and we thank you for it. But coming from my colleague, don't ever ask for anything because you probably will get it. And I just think it's wonderful how we go around, and I know you and Pam are the only one. It took me, and not because the board didn't want me to, because I teach and I teach every day, and I'm on the road at 6 o'clock for the last 20 years going to Kissimmee to teach. And I taught in Orange County for 25, and I went back and opened up my high school library in Charleston, South Carolina at Barnes Wilson High School. I dedicated myself to go back and make sure we opened a new school in 1967 and build a new school, and we're getting ready to celebrate for our college graduation year 50 years next year. So we all look great. We look like Rick Roach. And we're all working for South Carolina State, but I want to thank Darrell Flynn and even the board and you, Mr. Chairman, from last year, and Rick for showing confidence in me, because Nancy, I sat on this board, since 2000, and I didn't know I would love doing this, but I do love serving. But baby, whatever you ask for, it goes around. So I don't know if it's legal to say, but you will have my support. And I think anybody's support, because what we did before we received an elected chair for the county, we all would take turns. And because of my commitment for teaching in Orange County for 25 years, and I retired in 89, 90, and then I was asked to come back to work with Dr. Vogel in Osceola, and you've heard that story. And I went back to work in Osceola to teach and help them with the school that needed help. And I ended up loving the school so much that this board saw fit to create a replica of that school in Orange County. So I've been there since 1996. And I did take about 8 years off of my own and had a ball working with my husband and his company until he passed away. So I'm free to do what I want to do now. So I thank you for the nomination. I consider it an honor, and I do know that you will be sitting in this seat. Okay, God bless you. And Pam also, before she gets gray-haired. But yes, she did. But I want to thank Darrell, because she gave up the seat, and I know it's not easy, because once you get in it, you really enjoy working with the chairman and the superintendent. So I really thank you all for your support. I look forward to working with Linda, and I thank you, Christine, and I will do a good job for you, and the chairman, he knows that I will. Thank you, Madam Superintendent, and thank you, board members.
All right, at this time, we do need to establish our board dates and times for the 2014-15 school board meetings year and modifications to our calendar. Board members, the proposed meeting dates are in your packet. Can I have a motion?
Move the adoption of the proposed calendar.
Thank you, Ms. Cadle. Seconded by Ms. Moore. Is there any debate or discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show the calendar adopted. All right, at this time, can I take a nomination for FSBA Legislative Representative? Ms. Gould.
I would like to nominate Joey Cadle for that position of the second. I didn't even get a chance to get it out. Third. And, you know, Joey has served us so well. I would love to see her continue, and especially in this critical role at this time.
All right. Ms. Cadle has been nominated to be our FSBA representative. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none. Any debate or discussion of that? Seeing none. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show Ms. Cadle as our FSBA representative. Thank you for serving. Legislative, I'm sorry.
And at midnight tonight, I'll also be past president of Florida School Boards Association for 6 months.
Again. All right.
Alternate now.
We need to do an alternate. Thank you. So can I have a motion for an alternate?
I'll continue.
Yeah, you're on a roll.
I am. I'm on a roll. I would also like to nominate Darrell Flynn as the alternate of that position. Darrell, you've been in the know on this and leading us, so it only makes sense. Thank you. I had to talk her into it. No, I didn't. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other nomination?
I second.
Been seconded by Vice Chair Gordon. Is there any other nomination for that? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Shh. Ms. Flynn, thank you. Yeah. Ms. Cadle, are we done? Do we have
We
one
are
more?
done, but I know we have the closing, but
Right.
we have a special request from someone who got 3 of us here. And also, we need to have a selfie with Judge LeBlanc and Linda, Daryl, and Joey. So don't leave until we get our selfie.
We'll do it one better. We'll get an official photograph.
Actually, we got to post it to her, so you can have an official photograph, but we also have to have someone take a selfie. Mr. Linda Cobert for another 6 hours.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our business. You know, I was remiss. It's as bad as forgetting your wife. I forgot my assistant, Ms. Deborah McGill of School Board Services. Thank you, Deborah, for everything you've done for me the last 4 years. And I also want to thank, we've had some great kids. This has been a long meeting. It's not that exciting to adults. Can you imagine what it's like to a 6-year-old? So Ava, any kid in here under 12, stand up and let us recognize you. Take a bow, Ava. All the kids, stand up and take a bow. There we go. You guys have been great. All right, at this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce the Reverend Tom McCloskey of First United Methodist Church, Orlando, where my children attend the best youth program in all of Central Florida, and also where my wife and I have had the privilege of attending the last 3 years. Reverend McCloskey, welcome, sir.
I want to make an observation that when Linda stood up and the judge gave her the, what do you call that, like a pledge of office or
The oath.
swearing in, and she made her commitment in a formal way to take a new role in relationship with the children of Orange County and the children of our nation. There were 2 books that were in their hands. One is Ava's Bible that she received in 3rd grade, and the other was Roy's Torah that he received when he was much younger. Significantly, in both of those books, the Torah and in the old, what we would call the Old Testament, the Christian faith, there's a passage in the book of Numbers where the great emancipator Moses realizes that change has come. The new board members are arriving. New leadership has arrived. And he gives these words to his follower Aaron. If you would stand, this will be our benediction for the night. And what Moses says to Aaron to share with his people for all time is this: may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give to you his peace. And typically what we say as people of faith is amen, which means so be it. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
A baby is born. Cute. He's already surrounded by technology. By age 4, she knows how to use a smartphone. He's reading. No, not from this. This. She's making a digital presentation. You don't even know what that is. He has an interest. No, not that. That. By middle school, she has built her own website and her first app. In high school,
with my Michelson interferometer, I can measure down to the fraction of the wavelength of light.
wow. The world is changing. And they are preparing for jobs that don't even exist yet.